Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for joining me for a special episode today, one that I am really excited to get to, a player and collection showcase on a Hall of Famer that I think we should all know a little bit more about and who I love collecting, who flies a little bit under the radar and is one of the most inspiring stories of overcoming adversity that I'm aware of in all of sports. And it's going to be sponsored by, as you can tell on the right, my good buddy Dylan over at Double D Vintage Baseball Cards. So who are we going to be talking about today? We are talking about Hall of Famer Sam Rice. Now, he played all the way back in the teens, 20s, and 30s. He had a very long career that lasted, I think, 1915 through 1934. So basically a 20-year career in the major leagues. Played all but one of those seasons, the last season with the Washington Senators, and then finished off with 1 year with Cleveland before calling it a career. And he's one of the premier players of his era, especially that 1920s era, helped bring the Senators to multiple playoff appearances and, of course, won a World Series with Washington in 1924, regarded as one of the best players in the history of the franchise, and was elected to the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee in the early 1960s. Now, I learned about Sam Rice probably 2 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer, and I learned about him courtesy of Dylan. So in the very early days of his channel, going back at least 2 years now, maybe closer to 3, Dylan did a video about Sam Rice and told a little bit of his story, and I was just enamored. I was absolutely blown away that I was unfamiliar with his kind of tragic tale and then the success that he went on to experience. And the reason I mention that, and the reason Dylan is featured front and center today in the backdrop, he sent me my very first vintage Sam Rice card recently. Now, I showed in the intro, you saw a look at my binder of 2023 Panini Prism parallels of Sam Rice, which I've got nearly the full rainbow now. I've got, again, some great select cards of Sam Rice, 2 products that he was in last year. But until now, I hadn't owned a vintage Sam Rice card. And Dylan sent me a care package, and inside of it was this 1961 Fleer Sam Rice card. Check that out. Love the image. So patriotic with the colors here. I'm a big fan of this Fleer set over their other set that they put out around this time. I think it might have been 1960 Fleer, but I love how this looks. Dylan has graded it up for me in his Double D vintage slab, his Mag Pro. It looks incredible, and I'm just so honored and flattered and happy that the first truly vintage Sam Rice card in my collection originated from the collector who is not only a good friend of mine, but who introduced me to the man and his tale to begin with. So when I got this recently, Dylan sent this my way a few weeks ago now. I'm pretty overdue in getting this video up, but I wanted to get all of the cards that we're about to look at together and really do this justice and wait until I had some time to kind of sit down and do kind of an extended, almost Double D style video here on Sam Rice. So an amazing card. Let's take a look at the back of this one. I mean, just gorgeous. Do you expect anything less from Dylan when it comes to vintage? I will leave it to him to confirm or deny this, maybe in the comments below, or shoot me a text. But I have a feeling that this is the very Sam Rice card, 61 Fleer Sam Rice, that he featured in that video that I'm referring to way back in the early days of his channel. So while it is true that that is the first vintage Sam Rice in my collection, I have, as you've seen over time, if you've been by the channel, or as you can see in the backdrop here, or during the intro, collected a good deal of modern post-playing era Sam Rice cards. And I want to show some of those off today. The majority of these I've never shown on the channel before, and I'm going to end it with really like 4 cards that are kind of mind-blowing, and I think probably give me one of the better Sam Rice collections out there, even though I don't have a playing era card of his yet. This is worth sticking around for, even if you're a vintage fan, because we're going to start by talking just briefly. I am not the guy to give, a full career update here, but just briefly about what makes Sam so interesting. And to make a long story short, everything I said in the intro, Hall of Famer, one of the best Senators of all time, World Series champion, came just shy, frustratingly shy of 3,000 career hits. I think he was at like 2,900 and change, at least as the regular season goes. All of that would be impressive enough in and of itself. But what sets him apart and what makes him amazing is just a couple of years before his major league career unfolded or began to unfold, he experienced one of the worst tragedies that I can possibly imagine. Now, he lived in the Midwest in Illinois, had a young wife at the time, and 2 young children. I think maybe like a 2 or 3-year-old and like a 1-month-old or an 18-month-old. And he was away from home, trying out for like a minor league team to see if he could make the club, kind of get his career off and running. So he was gone for about a week and appeared in a few exhibition games to get some time for this team in kind of a tryout fashion. And tragically, on April 21st of that year, I believe it was 1912, his wife took their 2 young kids to visit his parents, who lived, I think, about 20 miles away on their own farm. And just so happened that while they were there, a tornado developed, ripped through the farm, destroyed all the buildings and outhouses, and incredibly and tragically, that storm killed Sam Rice's mother, his wife, his 2 sisters, and his 2 children, and a farmhand. And then days or a week later, his father also succumbed to his injuries from that storm. So in one afternoon, in the blink of an eye, he lost everyone in his immediate family from the generation before him, both his mom and his dad, the generation that was level with him, his 2 sisters, and the generation that was to come next, his wife and his 2 children. And I can't imagine how somebody would ever get over that. I know you do, and everything gets easier with the passage of time. He had to attend 2 separate funerals in the same week, one for his parents and sisters, and then another for his wife and children. And this was the year 1912, and by 1915, he had made the major leagues. So just put into perspective everything that I said about his Hall of Fame inclusion, all of the career numbers and the championship and all of that success, and then frame that in a lens where all of that came just a couple of years after suffering what I can't even imagine, an unimaginable personal tragedy. And so to me, seeing or hearing what he went through back in 1912, and then hearing the type of career that he was able to assemble afterwards, despite that, I think it's one of the greatest stories in sports as far as overcoming adversity and I'm sure personal demons and everything else to achieve the greatest level of success in Major League Baseball. And so I'm a huge fan of Sam Rice. Again, I'm probably not doing the story full credit. I encourage you to go read his Saber bio or Wikipedia page or whatever you can to learn more about him. He's a fascinating individual, but I don't want this video to be an hour long. So I'm going to get into the cards now that I kind of promised you at the outset. So with Dylan's awesome and much appreciated vintage edition looking on, let's cover a few more of the modern cards that I've picked up. So we saw, again, just to reiterate at the beginning of the video, before I got started, a little preview of my 2023 Panini Prism Sam Rice cards. And I showed about 18 cards laid out on those 2 pages. This was one of them. But there are a couple cards that aren't in that binder because of rarity that I didn't show, and I want to include those as well for the sake of completeness. I have also this black and gold, which is numbered to just 5 copies. So pretty incredible. I think the lowest numbered cards in the binder, there were 2 gold cards in there, a regular gold and a gold shimmer that are each numbered to 10. But this black and gold here is numbered to just 5. I have shown that on the channel before, but this one I have never shown on the channel before. And not only that, I was able to find it in a PSA 10 slab over the course of this past summer for like $20, maybe $25. And that's like criminal. I mean, look how good this looks. I showed the Babe Ruth of this parallel earlier, maybe like 2 weeks ago. This is known as the Mojo Prism. And these are numbered to just 25 copies. So I have copy 17, it looks like, of 25 for the Mojo Prism Sam Rice in a PSA Gem Mint 10 acquired for basically the cost to submit the card for grading. So I don't really know what this seller was up to or hoped to achieve by submitting this and then selling it at that price point, but I'm glad to be the beneficiary of what I consider a great deal on this inspirational figure. So there's a couple prisms. Now there is one more that we'll get to in a moment, but before we do, he's also featured in 2023 Select. So we'll just take a quick time out here to say great job by Panini for including Sam on 2 modern releases with really great parallels here in the past year. Prior to this, pickings were somewhat slim when it comes to modern Sam Rice, and so it's been really nice to kind of flush these out. This one here is a toughie, numbered to just 3. So that's fantastic. Great looking card there. But on the Select front, I have a couple more that, this one I have shown in the past, but it's the tie-dye Prism, which I really, really dig the look of. Super colorful, and it's kind of a neat contrast to the black and white player photo there. Pretty cool. These are numbered to 25. Copy 24 of 25 there. And a typical disclaimer that I often give here on the channel, but if you hear any snoring going on behind me, that is official channel assistant Leo, who's having his evening nap behind me as I record this. And then one more for now on the Select front, really tough one, and I'm pleased that I nabbed one of these, the gold. And those of us that, primarily stick to tops when it comes to modern shiny cards and refractors, we're maybe used to gold being numbered to 50. But in the world of Panini, both Prism and Select, these gold are numbered to just 10 copies. So I have the Select Gold, copy 5 of 10. So a pretty fantastic start on a Sam Rice Modern collection there. But to close out the video, I have 4 cards here that I think are just beyond impressive and kind of, if I do say so myself, kind of set my modern Sam Rice collection apart. We're going to start with a relic card, because every modern collector knows if you want to collect a player, you got to get a relic in there. And was able to find this one, of all places, on COMC, which for years was like my haven for dime cards or quarter cards, dollar cards, that kind of stuff. But in the recent past, I've kind of been picking up some more impressive singles like this one. And when I was searching randomly for Sam on the site and found this triple relic from National Treasures, I was just sold. Each of the 3 has a stripe on it, a pinstripe from that old Senator's uniform, a wonderful photograph accompanying it to the right. Great selection in the photo where it's not very noticeable that it's not a licensed card, and just amazing. I love like these wool relics and kind of the character that they have. If we look on the back, the card does have the correct language, at least purporting to be game-used material. And we get that guarantee on the back from Panini. And this was part of the 2016 National Treasures baseball release, which is like a really high-end Panini baseball product. I don't really have much of anything from that set, but again, this relic really spoke to me. I don't go often after relics, or I don't have a ton of them in my collection. They're not my primary focus, but there's something about that one between the pinstripes and the layout of the card that I just had to add it. And it was available cheaply, for a Hall of Famer with 3 pinstripe swatches on there. I recall paying under $50 for that relic card. So really pumped about that. And then decided, if you have a relic, what do you need to go with it? You need an autograph. And as you would imagine, this was quite a bit more challenging than the relic. He passed away quite a while ago. The only option here is going to be cut autos, as is the case with a lot of these guys that played in the teens and 20s. Took my time, waited probably 6 months to a year, passed up on quite a few, and then finally one surfaced that I knew was my copy. I was able to bring it home. This is from SP Legendary Cuts from Upper Deck. I think it came out around 2005, so coming up on 20 years now. Look at this beautiful autograph. First of all, and apologies for the glare, but the foil work here on the nameplate, the Sam Rice nameplate, the Washington logo, and the SP Authentic. Just really ornate looking, gorgeous looking card. I love like the sepia tones, some of this design in the background. It just looks kind of period authentic for a guy who played in the 20s, and it has kind of a very like regal look and feel to it. The autograph itself is incredible. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is a cut auto embedded in this card, but may have come off an index card or some other type of document. I'm really uncertain, but I believe it's also in pencil, believe it or not, which might be my first and only pencil autograph in my collection. But it's well protected now in this one touch. You can kind of tell, I don't know if it's coming across, but the area around the cut auto is sort of raised and the auto is embedded down below. And so that really protects the surface of the auto from like rubbing against the case or anything like that. So I think this will preserve really nicely. I'm really pumped. I could not be happier with this being my my autograph example. And this video seemed like the perfect time, just like that relic card, to unveil that one. I have shown that one to Dylan privately. He got kind of a sneak peek. And then we're going to close out with two modern cards that are just mind-blowing to me. Until, quite honestly, I've been collecting almost 20 years now as an adult. And until this past year, I never owned a single proper, true one-of-one refractor. And for those who know or don't, in the world of Topps, they're referred to as superfractors. And in the world of Panini, they're referred to as gold vinyl. There are other one-of-one types out there, of course, but those are kind of the gold standard, so to speak, when it comes to chromium one-of-ones of these players. And I was able to, about maybe close to a year ago now, land the gold vinyl one-of-one for Sam's 2023 Panini Select card. The same one that we looked at earlier in the video. We saw that tie-dye parallel and that bright orange one in the background. Those are very low numbered, but nothing beats this. The gold vinyl one-of-one. And I understand the irony that this is a guy that played over 100 years ago, or at least started his career over 100 years ago, and I'm collecting ultra-modern chromium product with him on the cards, and that may not be for everybody. I totally get it, but for me and the way I collect, I'm really just looking to honor him as an individual and have a good representation of his cards in my collection because I'm really inspired by the way that he went on to lead his life. And to me, this is like a cornerstone, epic card for the Sam Rice collection. And it's topped in my collection by only one. And it's my single favorite, single greatest Sam Rice card. And it's the gold vinyl one-of-one of the Prism card, which amazingly I was able to track down as well. So his only two modern chromium releases that exist, which came in Prism and Select last year. I am the owner of the one-of-one gold vinyl of not one, but both. The PSA one, for that matter, is even graded a PSA 10, the Prism one, I should say. The person I bought this from submitted it prior to me purchasing it, but it's hard for me to overstate. I'm not good at talking up my own cards in terms of like their monetary value or just their challenge sometimes. I obviously appreciate these so much, but it's hard for me to state just what like a collecting miracle it was that not only that these even surfaced at all for sale, but that I was able to actually acquire them both. It's mind-blowing to me. The odds of these even surfacing, I mean, there are other players in these sets that I've been waiting for and looking for that have just never shown up, because if you think about it, half the product is probably, you know, sitting unopened in a case somewhere or many cases somewhere. And other times these cards could be pulled by a collector like myself, who would cherish them and never sell them for decades or until they pass away. And if that collector isn't someone who has a social media presence or a YouTube channel, you may never even hear about these even existing out in the wild, these one-of-ones. And for both of them to have actually hit the open market in that first year, and for me to have acquired them both, it is and always will be the absolute highlight and cornerstone of my Sam Rice collection. If we take a look at the back, just for posterity, the back of the Select, there's your one-of-one. And then similarly on the Prism gold vinyl, you have that gorgeous one-of-one foil right on the back. So two amazing one-of-ones of an individual who I just find, again, beyond inspiring, and sort of a wrap on my really year-and-a-half-long process of collecting these Sam Rice cards. So I do hope to extend this collection in the future. I've come close, and I'm sure I will down the line, to buying a couple of his playing era cards. So you may see some further episodes featuring Sam Rice, but for today, that's going to be a wrap. A huge thank you to all of you for sticking this out for over 20 minutes, much longer than my normal video format. And again, another big thanks to my buddy Dylan at Double D Vintage Baseball Cards, both for the initial inspiration and knowledge to learn about Sam Rice, and then for bestowing upon me that amazing 1961 Fleer, which is going to be cherished among this overall collection that we saw in the video today. So that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back soon. And until then, enjoy the hobby. See ya.